Ambassador Kehoe walked through the long corridors of Nexus Prime Station. His black diplomatic uniform was neat and clean, but his face showed the tiredness of someone who had been fighting the same battle for too long. Today would be different, though. Today would be the last time he sat across from the Galactic Council. The meeting room was huge, with 12 tall chairs arranged in a circle. Each chair held a different alien species, all looking down at the small human table in the center. Kehoe had sat in that same spot for 3 years now, asking for the same things over and over again. Chancellor Veltar of the Hegemony spoke first. His voice was deep and cold, like metal scraping against stone. "Human representative, we have reviewed your latest requests. As always, they show your species lacks understanding of galactic order." Kehoe opened his tablet and read from his notes. "The United Earth Coalition asks for fair trade agreements. We want the right to expand to more star systems. We want our people treated as equals, not servants." A laugh came from the Zilarian representative. Her purple skin shimmered as she spoke. "Equals? Your species barely left your home planet 50 years ago. We have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Experience does not mean superiority," Kehoe said calmly. "We have proven ourselves capable. Our technology works. Our people work hard. We ask only for respect." Chancellor Veltar leaned forward in his chair. "Respect is earned, human. Your species will earn respect by serving the greater galactic community. We have decided on new terms for Earth." Kehoe felt his stomach tighten. "New terms? Earth will provide 70% of its rare Earth minerals to the galactic market. This is not negotiable." Veltar's eyes glowed red as he spoke. "Your expansion will be limited to 3 star systems. No more." The room filled with agreement sounds from the other council members. Kehoe wrote down the numbers, but his hand was shaking slightly. "Furthermore," Veltar continued, "Earth will provide 500,000 humans for cultural exchange programs. They will work on council worlds to learn proper galactic civilization." Kehoe's pen stopped moving. "You mean slavery?" "We mean education," snapped the Zarian representative. "Your people will learn to serve efficiently. This is an honor we grant to few primitive species." Kehoe looked around the room at the 12 alien faces. Some looked bored. Others looked amused. None looked like they cared about what he might say. He had seen this same expression for 3 years. The expression that said humans were nothing more than clever animals. "And if we refuse these terms?" Kehoe asked quietly. Chancellor Veltar smiled, showing teeth like black crystals. "Then Earth will lose galactic protection. Your little ships will face the void alone. Pirates will take what they want. Hostile species will see Earth as easy prey. Your people will beg us to return to these negotiations." Kehoe closed his tablet and stood up. The movement was slow and deliberate. The council members watched him with mild interest, like adults watching a child throw a tantrum. "The United Earth Coalition formally withdraws from all negotiations with the Galactic Council," Kehoe said. His voice was steady and clear. "We will no longer participate in this process." The room went quiet for a moment. Then Chancellor Veltar began to laugh. The sound was like grinding gears. Soon other council members joined in. "You cannot be serious," gasped the Helix representative between laughs. "Humans need the council. Without us, your species will not survive a single year." "Your ships are toys compared to ours," added the Zilarian. "Your technology is borrowed from us. Your medicine comes from our worlds. What will you do alone in the dark?" Kehoe walked toward the door, but he stopped and turned back to face them. "You will find out. Come back here, human." Veltar shouted, but Kehoe was already walking through the doorway. "Your species will come crawling back within 1 cycle. You will beg for these same terms." Kehoe did not look back. He walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime Station, past the alien merchants and travelers who barely noticed him. At the docking bay, his small diplomatic ship waited. It looked tiny next to the massive alien vessels, but Kehoe knew something the council did not. He stepped into his ship and activated the quantum communicator. The device hummed to life, connecting him instantly to Earth and every human settlement across the galaxy. "This is Ambassador Kehoe," he said into the communicator. "Code Crimson is now active. Initiate protocol exodus immediately. All human assets are to return to Sol system. All human personnel are to cease operations and return home." This is not a drill. The response came back in seconds from dozens of different locations. "Confirmed, Ambassador. Protocol exodus is active. All teams are moving to extraction points." Kehoe smiled for the first time in months. The council thought humans were weak because they were polite. They thought humans were stupid because they asked for things instead of taking them. They thought humans were helpless because they worked with others instead of ruling over them. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As his ship left the docking bay, Kehoe looked back at Nexus Prime Station. The massive structure glowed with lights from 1,000 different worlds. It was beautiful and impressive, but Kehoe knew something the aliens did not. Half of those lights depended on human technology to keep working. Back in the council chamber, Chancellor Veltar was already planning his victory speech. "When the humans return," he told his aide Zephyrian, "we will make the terms even harder. This will teach other primitive species not to challenge council authority." But Veltar did not know that the navigation system on his own ship was maintained by human technicians. He did not know that the water recycling system on Nexus Prime Station had been quietly upgraded by human engineers 3 months ago. He did not know that the translation device he used to speak with other council members had been manufactured on Earth. The Galactic Council had made a mistake that would cost them everything. They had pushed the humans too far, and now in the dark of space between the stars, human ships were already moving. Protocol Exodus was more than just a retreat. It was the first step in teaching the galaxy what happened when you treated humans like slaves. Kehoe set his ship's course for Earth and activated the autopilot. Then he opened his personal communicator and sent a message to President Do-hyun. "It is done. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2 preparations." The real war was about to begin. Fleet Admiral Tae-jin stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching dozens of green dots move across the massive star map. Each dot was a human ship responding to Protocol Exodus. Ships that had been scattered across the galaxy for years were now coming home. "Admiral, we have confirmation from the Kepler mining station," reported Captain Soo-jin from her console. "All personnel extracted. Station is going dark." "Good. What about the Vega Medical Research Facility?" Dr. Hyun-woo reports all samples destroyed and equipment removed. "The facility is being abandoned." Tae-jin nodded. The humans had been everywhere in galactic space, but they had been quiet about it. While the council saw them as simple traders and workers, humans had actually built themselves into the foundation of galactic civilization. Now that foundation was crumbling, piece by piece. On Earth, Dr. Hana walked through the halls of the Xenobiology Institute for the last time. Her team had spent 15 years studying alien biology, learning how different species worked, what made them sick, what kept them healthy. It was knowledge that could help billions of beings across the galaxy. She stopped at a large furnace in the basement of the building. Her assistant, Dr. Wansik, was feeding data drives into the flames. "Are you sure about this?" Wansik asked. "This research could save lives." Hana picked up another drive and threw it into the fire. "Whose lives, Wansik? The same aliens who want to make our children into slaves? The same council that thinks we are too stupid to deserve basic rights?" The data drives melted in the heat. Years of research on Zalarian neural patterns, hegemony blood chemistry, and Zarion reproduction cycles turned to smoke. The aliens had always wondered how humans could treat their diseases so well. Now they would find out what it was like without that help. "If they will not treat us as equals," Hana said, "then they do not deserve our knowledge." Meanwhile, So Young sat in her office in Geneva, Earth's economic center. As Minister of Galactic Trade, she controlled more than the aliens realized. Her computer screen showed the real numbers behind galactic commerce, numbers that would shock the Galactic Council if they knew. She opened a secure channel to human trading posts across the galaxy. "Attention all trading stations. Begin immediate shutdown of operations. All contracts are void as of now. All services are terminated." "Minister," her assistant asked, "what about the penalty fees for breaking contracts?" So Young smiled coldly. "Let them try to collect." The first signs of trouble appeared within days. On Zerion Prime, the capital world of the Zerion Empire, the waste management system began to fail. The aliens had hired human contractors to improve efficiency 5 years ago. What they did not know was that the humans had redesigned the entire system using Earth-based bacteria. Manager Krelto stood in his pristine office, watching brown sludge back up in the streets below. "Get me the human contractors," he barked at his assistant. "Sir, they left yesterday." "All of them." They said their contracts were terminated. "Then get local workers to fix it." But the local workers did not understand the human biosystems. The bacteria needed special care and feeding. Without human technicians to maintain them, The bacteria died. Without the bacteria, the waste system collapsed. In space, Captain Nixera of the Galactic patrol ship Starwind found herself stranded between two star systems. Her navigation computer had crashed during a routine patrol, and now her ship drifted in empty space. "Engineering report," she called over the intercom. "Captain, the navigation AI is completely offline. The maintenance drones are not responding either." Nixera frowned. "What do you mean not responding?" "They were supposed to auto-update their software every month. The last update came from a human technical station near Proxima Centauri. That station went dark 3 days ago." The captain did not know that her simple maintenance drones were actually advanced AI systems designed by human programmers. Without their monthly updates, the drones had shut down to prevent system corruption. Her ship was now blind and helpless. Similar problems appeared all over the galaxy. Mining stations lost their automated systems. Hospital ships found their life support failing. Trade vessels discovered their cargo handlers had stopped working. The Titan Mining Consortium was the first to panic. Their most profitable operation was a massive asteroid mining facility in the outer belt. The facility had run perfectly for 3 years with minimal staff. Now, suddenly, it had gone completely dark. Executive Vorthak arrived at the facility with a full technical team. What he found confused him. The asteroid was still there. The mining equipment was still there. But all the control systems were offline. The humans must have sabotaged it before they left, he told his chief engineer. But the engineer shook his head after examining the systems. "No sabotage, sir. These systems were designed to shut down safely if they lost connection to their control network. The control network was managed from a small human station that we never really noticed." "What do you mean, never noticed?" "It was listed in our files as a maintenance depot. We thought it was just storage and repairs. We had no idea it was actually running our entire operation." Back on Nexus Prime Station, Consul Thekmon approached Chancellor Veltar with a growing list of problems. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy about system failures, communication breakdowns, and economic disruptions. "Several member worlds are requesting immediate technical assistance," Thekmon reported. "The problems seem to be widespread." Veltar barely looked up from his desk. "Handle it with local technicians. How difficult can it be to maintain simple human technology?" "Sir, that is the problem. It appears that what we thought was simple technology is actually quite complex. Many of these systems were designed to work together in ways we do not understand. Then hire more technicians. Pay them well. The problems will be solved quickly." But Thekmon knew something his chancellor did not. The problems were not isolated incidents. They were connected. The humans had not just worked on individual projects. They had quietly woven themselves into the fabric of galactic civilization. And now they were pulling out all the threads at once. On Earth, President Do-hyun met with his cabinet in the secure bunker beneath Geneva. The room was filled with screens showing the status of human operations across the galaxy. "Phase 1 is complete," reported Admiral Tae-jin. "All human personnel have been extracted. All facilities have been shut down or abandoned. Economic withdrawal is proceeding on schedule," added Minister So-young. "Galactic trade volume has dropped by 15% in just 1 week." Do-hyun studied the reports carefully. "How long before they realize what is happening?" "The smart ones already know," said Dr. Hana via video link from her new laboratory on Mars. "But the Council? They still think this is a tantrum that will pass." "Good. Begin Phase 2. It is time to show them what independence really means." Across the galaxy, the aliens were starting to understand that the quiet, polite humans had been far more important than anyone realized. But understanding a problem and solving it were two very different things, and the humans were just getting started. 3 months after the humans left, the galaxy was starting to break down. On Zarian Prime, the smell was getting worse. Governor Thexiel stood on his balcony, looking down at the capital city that had once been the jewel of the Zarian Empire. Now brown wastewater flowed through the streets like rivers. The beautiful crystal towers were stained with filth. "Status report," he demanded from his aide. "Sir, we have brought in engineering teams from 6 different worlds. None of them can fix the bio-waste systems. The human bacteria that process the waste are all dead. Without them, everything just backs up. Then get new bacteria." "We have tried, sir. But the human bacteria were specially designed for our waste. Regular bacteria cannot handle the volume or the chemical mixture. We need the humans to create new ones." Governor Thexiel slammed his fist on the balcony rail. I will not crawl back to those primitive apes. Find another solution. But there was no other solution. The humans had spent years studying Xerion biology and waste production. They had created bacteria that worked perfectly with Xerion chemistry. No other species had bothered to learn such details. In space, Captain Nixara was still stranded. Her patrol ship Starwind had been drifting for 2 weeks now. The Galactic Rescue Service had promised to send help, but their ships kept breaking down too. Captain, her engineer reported, I have been studying the maintenance logs. These drones were not just simple repair units. They were actually managing our entire ship's computer network. What do you mean? Every system on this ship was connected to the maintenance network. The humans designed it so that the drones could fix problems before we even knew about them. Without the drones, everything is slowly failing. Nixara looked at her dead control panels. How long do we have? Life support will last another week. Maybe 2 if we shut down non-essential systems. Similar problems were spreading everywhere. The Titan Mining Consortium had shut down 12 facilities because their automated systems had failed. Without human-managed control networks, the mining equipment was just expensive metal floating in space. Executive Vorthak called an emergency meeting of the consortium board. The holographic images of board members from across the galaxy flickered as they struggled with failing communication systems. We need to face facts, Vorthak said. Our operations depended on human technical support more than we realized. Without them, we cannot function. Board member Zilthara from the Hegemony Worlds interrupted. Surely we can hire other species to replace them. The Alcarians are good with technology. We tried, Vorthak replied. The Alcarians looked at our systems and said they were too complex. The humans had integrated everything in ways that no one else understands. What about the Technological Union? They pride themselves on engineering. They said the same thing. According to them, human engineering uses principles they have never seen before. They called it elegant simplicity, but said they would need years to learn how it works. The board members fell silent. They were beginning to understand that they had lost something irreplaceable. On Hegemony Central Command, General Carthul discovered his own problems. The mighty Hegemony fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, was falling apart. General, his aide reported, we have lost 17 ships to shield failures in the past month. The shield generators are breaking down faster than we can repair them. Get replacement parts from the manufacturers. That is the problem, sir. The key components were made by human fabrication plants. The plants have been shut down. General Carthul pulled up the technical specifications for his fleet's shields. What he saw made his blood run cold. Nearly every ship in the Hegemony fleet used human-manufactured focusing crystals in their shield systems. The crystals were supposed to last for decades, but without proper maintenance, they were failing in months. How did this happen? He demanded. The humans offered to upgrade our shields 5 years ago. They said they could make them 30% more efficient. We thought it was a simple improvement, but it had not been simple. The humans had replaced standard galactic components with their own advanced technology. The new shields worked better than anything the Hegemony had ever used, but they required human-made parts and human knowledge to maintain. Without the humans, the most powerful military in the galaxy was becoming defenseless. Meanwhile, the economic collapse was accelerating. On the trading world of Nexus Minor, merchant Kelthanis stared at his empty warehouse. Where are all my goods? He asked his assistant. Sir, remember the human cargo management system you installed last year? It stopped working 2 weeks ago. All the automated sorting and shipping has broken down. We have thousands of containers, but we do not know what is in them or where they should go. The humans had created a logistics network that connected trade routes across the galaxy. Their computers tracked billions of shipments, managed inventory, and coordinated deliveries. They had made galactic commerce faster and more efficient than ever before. Now that network was gone. Ships arrived at ports with cargo that no one could identify. Goods sat in warehouses because no one knew where to send them. Orders went unfilled because the tracking systems had failed. The worst problem was communication. The universal translators that allowed different species to talk to each other had stopped working. The devices themselves were fine, but they needed constant updates to handle new words and phrases. Those updates had come from human linguistic research centers. Without updates, the translators became confused. They started mistranslating important words. Business deals fell apart because of misunderstandings. Diplomatic messages caused offense instead of building bridges. On Nexus Prime Station, Consul Thekmon finally convinced Chancellor Veltar to see the full scope of the crisis. Sir, I have reports from every major world in our territory. The problems are not isolated incidents. They are part of a pattern. Veltar looked at the data with growing alarm. This cannot all be related to the human withdrawal. I am afraid it is, sir. Our analysis shows that humans were involved in critical infrastructure on nearly every council world. They were not just workers and traders. They were the engineers and technicians who kept our civilization running. That is impossible. Humans are primitives. Their technology is basic compared to ours. Thekmon pulled up a holographic display showing the interconnected systems that were failing. Sir, human technology was not basic. It was different. They did not build the most advanced individual components. Instead, they built systems that worked together perfectly. They made our advanced technology work better by connecting it in smart ways. Veltar studied the display. Red markers showed failing systems across the galaxy. The pattern was clear and terrifying. How many worlds are affected? All of them, sir. Every council world used human services in some way. The ones that depended on them most are in complete chaos. The others are just starting to feel the effects. For the first time since the humans left, Veltar felt afraid. What do they want? We do not know, sir. They have not responded to any of our messages. Back in the Sol system, President Do-hyun received daily reports about the galactic situation. His staff had been monitoring alien news broadcasts and intelligence reports. The breakdown is happening faster than we predicted, reported Minister So-young. Their economy has contracted by 40%. Several member worlds are talking about leaving the council. What about their military capabilities? Asked Admiral Tae-jin, declining rapidly. The hegemony has lost nearly half their fleet effectiveness. The other military powers are in similar situations. Do-hyun nodded with satisfaction. Phase 2 is complete. Begin Phase 3 preparations. What is Phase 3, sir? Asked a junior aide. Do-hyun smiled. Phase 3 is when we let them know what it will cost to fix their problems. The aliens were about to learn that independence was not just about leaving. It was about having the strength to make others respect your choices. 6 months after the human withdrawal, the galaxy was dying. On the agricultural world of Verdania, farmer Rex Mila walked through fields of rotting crops. The plants had grown tall and strong for the first few months, just as they had for the past 8 years. Then suddenly they all began to die. What happened? His son asked. The soil bacteria are gone, Rex Mila said sadly. The humans gave us special bacteria that helped our crops grow in alien soil. Without the bacteria, the plants cannot get nutrients. The entire harvest is lost. This same scene was happening on dozens of agricultural worlds. The humans had quietly improved farming across the galaxy by introducing earth bacteria that helped alien plants grow better. The farmers had thought it was just good fertilizer. They did not know it was a living system that needed care and feeding. Now billions of beings faced starvation. In the Andromeda Medical Complex, Dr. Vextar worked frantically to save his patients. The hospital ship served medical emergencies across 3 star systems, but now his patients were dying faster than he could treat them. Doctor, the life support systems are failing on decks 7 through 12, his nurse reported. What is the problem? The atmospheric processors are breaking down. They were modified by human engineers to work more efficiently. Without maintenance, they cannot handle the load. Dr. Vextar ran to the engineering section. What he found there horrified him. The life support systems that kept thousands of patients alive had been completely redesigned by humans. The original alien technology was still there, but it had been improved with human additions that made it work 3 times better. Now those improvements were failing. And without them, the original systems could not handle the patient load. How long do we have? He asked the chief engineer. 12 hours, maybe 18. Then we will have to start evacuating patients. Where will we evacuate them to? The engineer looked grim. Every hospital ship in this sector is having the same problem, Doctor. There is nowhere to evacuate them to. The medical crisis was spreading everywhere. Human doctors and researchers had spent decades studying alien biology and developing new treatments. They had created medicines that worked better than anything the aliens had before. They had designed medical equipment that saved millions of lives. Now that knowledge was gone. Alien doctors found themselves unable to treat diseases that had been easily curable just months before. Medical equipment broke down and could not be repaired. Patients died from conditions that should not have been fatal. The military situation was even worse. General Carthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his mighty fleet fall apart around him. "General, we have lost another cruiser," his communications officer reported. The Dominator's shields failed during a routine patrol. They were destroyed by asteroid debris. "How many ships do we have left with working shields?" 43 out of 200, sir. And more are failing every day. General Carthul had commanded the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Now he had less than a quarter of his ships operational. The human-made shield components were failing everywhere and there were no replacements. But the worst part was that his enemies knew it. The Outer Rim rebels, who had been hiding in asteroid belts for years, were suddenly attacking hegemony outposts. They knew the Great Fleet could not protect its territory anymore. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "we are receiving reports of rebel attacks on mining stations in the Vega sector. Should we respond?" General Carthul looked at his tactical display.
He had 20 functioning ships in that sector.
The rebels probably had 50 or more. It would be a massacre. "No," he said quietly. "We cannot afford to lose more ships." For the first time in decades, the mighty hegemony was retreating from its own territory. The economic collapse was complete. Merchant Prince Kelthanis, who had once controlled trade routes across half the galaxy, now sat in his empty office staring at bankruptcy reports. "We have lost everything," his financial advisor reported. "Without the human logistics network, we cannot move goods efficiently. Our costs have increased by 300%, while our delivery times have gotten 10 times worse. No one wants to use our services anymore. What about our competitors? They are all in the same situation. The entire galactic economy is collapsing. Species that used to trade with each other can barely communicate now. The human-made translation network had failed completely. Different alien species found themselves unable to understand each other. Trade negotiations became impossible when no one could be sure what the other side was actually saying. Governments fell as their economies collapsed. The Council of 12 became the Council of 8, then the Council of 5. Member species withdrew from galactic cooperation to focus on their own survival. On Nexus Prime Station, Chancellor Veltar sat alone in the Great Council chamber. Half the seats were empty now. The species that remained were angry, desperate, and looking for someone to blame. "This is your fault," accused Representative Zixtha of the Crystalline Empire. "You pushed the humans too far." "We all agreed to the terms," Veltar replied weakly. "No one objected when we made our demands." "That is because no one knew how important they were," shouted Governor Thexiel via hologram from his polluted world. "My people are dying of disease while walking through sewage. We need help." "Then ask for help," Veltar snapped. "Send a message to Earth." "We have sent dozens of messages," Thexiel replied. "They do not answer. The humans ignore us completely." That was not entirely true. The humans did respond to alien messages, but their responses were always the same. The United Earth Coalition is not currently in negotiations with the Galactic Council. We wish you well in resolving your difficulties. It was polite, professional, and completely unhelpful. Consul Thekmon entered the chamber with more bad news. "Sir, I have a report from our intelligence services. The humans are not sitting idle in their system. They are building something. Building what? We do not know. But they have construction ships working around the clock near Jupiter. Long-range sensors show a massive structure taking shape." Veltar felt his heart sink. "Are they building weapons?" "Unknown, sir. But whatever it is big." Meanwhile, in the Sol system, the construction was indeed massive. President Do-hyun stood on the observation deck of New Geneva Station, watching the framework of humanity's greatest project take shape. "How long until completion?" he asked Chief Engineer Myung-soo. "Another 6 months for the basic structure. Full operational status in 18 months. And our new allies." Minister So-young joined them at the observation window. "The Centauri Federation has formally agreed to join our Commonwealth. So have the Proxima Collective and the Wolfpack Alliance. Turns out there are a lot of species who felt pushed around by the old council." Do-hyun nodded. While the galactic civilization collapsed, humanity had been busy building something new. The human Commonwealth would not make the same mistakes as the Galactic Council. It would be based on mutual respect and shared benefits, not domination and exploitation. "What about the Council worlds?" Do-hyun asked. "Some of them are starting to ask questions," So-young reported. Not official requests yet, but informal inquiries about what it would take to restore relations. And our response? The same as always. We are not in negotiations with the Galactic Council. Do-hyun smiled. But we might be willing to negotiate with individual species who are ready to treat us as equals. Back on Nexus Prime Station, Chancellor Veltar finally understood what was happening. The humans had not just left. They had started building their own galactic alliance, and they were succeeding. His aide brought him one final piece of devastating news. Sir, we have confirmed reports that the Altarian Republic has withdrawn from the Council. They cite economic necessity. Apparently they are in talks with the humans about joining something called the Commonwealth. Veltar closed his eyes. The Galactic Council was truly dying, and it was all his fault. Prepare my personal ship, he said quietly. Where are we going, sir? To Earth, it is time to beg. 1 year after the human withdrawal, Chancellor Veltar arrived at the edge of the Sol system in a ship that barely worked. His once mighty vessel, the pride of the hegemony, limped along on failing engines and flickering life support. Half of his crew had died from preventable diseases during the journey. He was not alone. 12 other alien ships followed behind him, each carrying the leader of a species that had once ruled the galaxy. Now they came as beggars, hoping the humans would save them from the collapse they had caused. Sol Control, this is Chancellor Veltar of the former Galactic Council, he said into his communication device. We request permission to enter your system for urgent diplomatic talks. The response came quickly, but not from Earth. Chancellor Veltar, this is Admiral Tae Jin aboard the Commonwealth flagship New Geneva. You will proceed to coordinates I am transmitting. Any deviation from the prescribed route will result in your immediate destruction. Veltar looked at his navigation display with shock. The coordinates were not for Earth. They were for a position at the very edge of the solar system, far from any inhabited worlds. The humans were making it clear that the aliens were not welcome in their home. As his ship approached the meeting point, Veltar gasped at what he saw. A massive space station hung in the darkness, larger than anything he had ever seen before. It was not just one structure, but dozens of connected platforms, each one the size of a major city. Ships from dozens of different species moved around the station in perfect coordination. What is that? Asked his aide Zephyrian. That, said Veltar slowly, is what we forced them to build. The Commonwealth Station was humanity's answer to the Galactic Council. But unlike the Council's single meeting chamber, this station was designed for permanent habitation. It had farms, factories, research centers, and living quarters for millions of beings. It was not just a place for talks. It was a new capital for a new civilization. Human escorts guided Veltar's ship to a small docking bay. As he stepped out, he saw beings from species he had never encountered before. Some looked familiar, but many were completely unknown to him. Where did all these species come from? He asked his aide. I think they are the ones the Council never bothered to contact, Zephyrian replied. The ones we considered too primitive or too distant to matter. A human guard approached them. She was young and wore a simple uniform, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. Chancellor Veltar, President Do-hyun will see you now. Please follow me. They walked through corridors filled with alien art, music, and the sounds of dozens of different languages. Veltar realized that this station was not just bigger than the old council chambers. It was alive in a way the council had never been. President Do-hyun waited in a meeting room with windows that looked out at the construction work still happening around the station. He was older than Veltar expected, with gray hair and tired eyes. But there was strength in his voice when he spoke. Chancellor Veltar, you look unwell. It was true. Veltar had lost weight during the journey. His skin had the gray color of someone whose life support systems were failing. His aide Zephyrian looked even worse. President Do-hyun, I come here to ask for your help. Our worlds are dying. Our people are suffering. We need the knowledge and technology that only humans possess. Do-hyun did not respond immediately. He looked out the window at the busy construction work. Finally, he spoke. 1 year ago, you demanded that Earth give up 70% of our resources. You wanted to limit our expansion to 3 systems. You wanted 500,000 of our people as slaves. Do you remember what you called it? Cultural exchange, Veltar said quietly. And when we refused, what did you tell us? Veltar closed his eyes. That you would come crawling back within 1 cycle begging for the same terms. Here you are, Do-hyun said calmly. 1 cycle later, the room fell silent. Veltar had prepared speeches and offers, but suddenly they all seemed meaningless. He was exactly where the humans said he would be, doing exactly what he had said they would do. "We were wrong," Veltar finally said. "We did not understand what humans brought to our civilization. We thought you were servants. We did not realize you were the foundation that held everything together." Do-hyun turned from the window to face him. "What do you want from us, Chancellor?" "Help us rebuild. Share your technology again. Send your doctors and engineers to our worlds. We will pay any price." "Any price?" Veltar nodded desperately. "Anything. Resources, territory, trade agreements. Whatever you want." Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk. The wall screen lit up with images of the alien delegates' home worlds. Xerion Prime with its polluted streets, hospital ships full of dying patients, failed farms and collapsed mines. "I have studied the situation on your worlds," Do-hyun said. "Our scientists estimate it will take 50 years to repair the damage. Maybe more. Then you will help us?" "That depends. The United Earth Coalition does not negotiate with the Galactic Council." Veltar felt confusion. "But I am here. You are talking to me. You said you represent the former Galactic Council. Is the Council still functioning?" Veltar had to admit the truth. "No, most members have withdrawn. The remaining worlds can barely maintain communication with each other." "Then you do not represent a government. You represent individual species who are looking for help." Do-hyun pressed another button. The door opened and several human officials entered the room. Veltar recognized Minister So-young from intelligence reports. The others were unknown to him. "These officials represent the Commonwealth of Independent Worlds," Do-hyun explained. "If your species want our help, you will need to apply for membership individually. Each application will be reviewed separately." "Membership? You want us to join your alliance?" "Not join, apply. There is a difference. Membership in the Commonwealth requires meeting certain standards. Respect for the rights of other species. Fair treatment of your own people. Peaceful resolution of disputes. Some of your species may not qualify." Veltar felt panic rising. "What about the hegemony? My people control dozens of worlds." Minister So-young spoke for the first time. "The hegemony has a long history of conquest and oppression. Your application will require significant reforms before it can be considered." "Reforms? What kind of reforms?" "Free elections. Equal rights for all species in your territory. Reparations for worlds you have conquered. An end to forced labor." Veltar stared at her. "You want us to give up everything that makes us powerful?" "We want you to give up everything that makes you dangerous," Do-hyun corrected. "The Commonwealth is not interested in ruling over other species. We are interested in cooperating with equals." The alien leaders spent 3 hours hearing the Commonwealth's terms. Some requirements were reasonable. Others seemed impossible. All of them would mean the end of the old galactic order. As they prepared to leave, Veltar had one final question. "What if we refuse? What if we try to rebuild on our own?" Do-hyun walked him to the docking bay. Through the windows, they could see human ships moving with perfect coordination. Construction crews worked on new sections of the station. Everything moved with the quiet efficiency that humans were known for. "You are free to try," Do-hyun said. "The Commonwealth will not stop you. But remember, you are not the only ones we have been talking to. The Centauri Federation joined us 6 months ago. The Wolfpack Alliance joined last month. The Outer Rim Systems just signed their membership agreement yesterday. You are stealing our allies. We are offering partnership to species that want it. The choice is theirs." As Veltar's ship left the Sol system, he understood the new reality. The humans had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had conquered it by being better partners than the old council had ever been. Back on the station, President Do-hyun met with his cabinet to discuss the meeting. "Do you think they will accept our terms?" asked Admiral Tae-jin. "Some will. Others will try to rebuild the old system," Do-hyun replied. "But it does not matter. We have already won. How can you be sure?" Do-hyun pointed to the busy construction work outside the windows. "Because we never needed them. But now they know they need us." The galaxy has learned the difference between ruling through fear and leading through respect. Ambassador Ki-ho, who had been promoted to Commonwealth Foreign Minister, joined the conversation. "The applications are already starting to come in. 17 species have requested membership information. 3 have submitted formal applications. Any from the old council?" "The Zerion Empire submitted an application an hour ago. They have agreed to all our terms, including environmental restoration and equal rights reforms. Du-Hyun nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy was changing, species by species. The old order based on domination and exploitation was dying. In its place, something better was being born. Send a message to all Commonwealth worlds, he ordered. Phase 4 begins tomorrow. What is Phase 4? Asked a junior aide. Du-Hyun smiled as he watched human and alien workers building the future together. Phase 4 is when we show the galaxy what civilization looks like when it is built on cooperation instead of conquest. The age of human dominance had begun, but unlike the empires that came before, it would be an empire built on invitation, not invasion, and that would make all the difference.